Welcome. We're here today to do a Flatwater freestyle tutorial. Today we're going to be learning how to Flatwater front loop. Due to the current global situation, we're pretty limited in how far we can travel, and international travel is definitely off the cards for the next while. So I predicted that I'd be doing a lot of Flatwater in my near future. I assume there's a lot of other people in the same boat. So I'm making this video so that over this summer you can use this as a point of reference to learn how to loop or improve your current loop. Let's get into it. We are starting off learning the front loop by getting into a bow stall. The bow stall is a prerequisite for this. So once you're in the bow stall, you want to move your paddles to the surface of the water. Once they are at the surface of the water, you want to push them down into the water. This will push your boat out of the water. Once your boat starts traveling back into the water, you want to cock your wrists open so that your paddles can slice out of the water. Then you want to stand up so your boat can be driven further into the water, and you will be in a strong position to throw your loop. When your boat starts to be rejected out of the water, you want to swing your arms round towards your toes in an arc while crunching your torso forward as well to get as much momentum as possible generated to whip your boat around. Once your hands and paddle reach your toes, you want to start pulling back on the paddle and opening up your body so that you can finish off the rotation of the boat using your body and paddles. You will finish by lying quite far back on the back of your boat. Okay, so we'll now have a look at that from a different angle so that we can get a better idea of the steps required. You work your paddle to the surface of the water, then you push downwards, pushing your boat out of the water. Then you cock your wrists open, allowing your blade to slice out of the water as you stand up, driving your boat further into the water. As your boat reaches the deepest point and begins to be pushed back out of the water, you want to swing your arms round in an arc towards your toes, crunching your body forwards. Once your hands and paddle reach your toes, you want to start pulling back on the paddle and opening up your body so that you can finish off the rotation using your boat and your body. While the method I have just described is what I feel is the best way to do a flatwater loop, as it is most transferable for when you are trying to learn to loop in a hole or when you are trying to learn a Space Godzilla on flat water. It is not the only method for looping on flat water, and many different people will have many different methods. This method that I'm showing you now allows you to loop by pushing your paddles into the water as your boat is pushed out of the water while crunching forward, essentially pushing your boat further out of the water before pulling it round in the final part by opening up your body and pulling on the water the same as before. This technique requires a pontoon, a riverbank, a dock, or anything that is high enough that you can throw your boat forward off of it and get the boat vertical. For this technique, you want to slide your boat up to the edge of the pontoon until you are just about balanced. Then you will have to throw your weight forward hard enough to get your boat vertical. Once your boat is vertical and travelling down into the water, you can follow the same steps from earlier. Stand, swing, and pull back. The height of the pontoon will give you the pop for your loop. This means that you can get a really consistent amount of pop for your loops, so it is great for practicing technique. The pogo loop is extremely useful as it allows you to do a loop without having to know the bow stall. There is a technique to get back onto the pontoon, as getting in and out of your boat is very time consuming. Start by planting your hands on the edge of the pontoon. Then put your boat on edge and push your stern up over your head. This is similar to a bow stall but with the edge of the pontoon instead of a paddle. Once you are vertical, push your boat in and out of the water a couple of times until you have a good amount of height. Then when your boat is starting to get pushed back out of the water, using your hands and your core, twist your body and throw yourself backwards onto the pontoon. This will take a good bit of practice, but has a lot of transferable skills and strengthening techniques that will help you with the bow stall and the loop. Now that we have looked at the steps of the loop, we will go in depth about some of the common pitfalls and mistakes that can be made while learning the loop. Nearly all of the issues that I've seen with people learning the loop come down to time. I will go through each part and give an example so that you can compare to your own videos and pinpoint where you might be having issues. One problem that may occur is not keeping the kayak vertical. This can be solved by practicing your bow stall. Also, try only going for one push before throwing your loop, as trying for multiple pushes can tire out and adds more chances to make a mistake. This is something that you see a lot when people are learning to pogo loop. That is because they are not used to engaging their lower body, as they have not usually spent as much time practicing the bow stall. This can be solved by concentrating on tensing all your muscles from your toes up through your legs into your core and along your arms as you are entering the water. After pushing your paddle into the water, you can have difficulty getting the paddle out again so that you can stand up and drive your boat into the water. This can be solved by cocking your wrists back so that your paddle can slice cleanly out of the water. If you have a higher feather paddle, you will need to try and find a middle ground where both blades cause as little resistance as possible. This happens when you stand up but the boat is no longer being propelled out of the water as much. This is an issue that is caused by timing. This mistake happens when you throw your paddle straight back down as opposed to in an arc. This is the opposite direction that your boat just travelled from, so it kills your momentum and shoots you straight back into the water. To fix this, make sure you keep your arms straight while swinging and try and swing your body in conjunction with your paddles around in an arc from above your head around to your toes. This mistake means that the upward momentum of the boat hasn't been transferred into rotational motion, and that momentum has dissipated, making it more difficult to complete the loop. Depending on how late you leave it, the loop is still possible, but pulling back will feel more difficult the longer you wait. Waiting later to swing can also give you much bigger air if you time it right. One of the most common problems that I have seen is people not opening up their body and pulling on the water for the final part of the loop. Pulling back on the loop is one of the most important parts. Other parts of the loop can have small mistakes and the loop can still work. But if you do not open up your body and pull on the water, it is likely that the loop will not work. In fact, you can actually execute a loop with pretty much no pop if you pull back hard enough. There are a few improvements that can be made to the standard push loop. Some of these are specific techniques and others are based on time. One very common improvement that is used by a lot of people is to increase the volume of your boat. You can do this by adding an overthruster or a space hopper under your deck in between your legs. This will make it a little bit more difficult to bow stall, as there will be more boat that you will have to push into the water. Also, before using something like this in your boat, make sure to take a controlled swim with it. You don't want to find out you don't know where the handle is when you're upside down and out of breath. These overthrusters can really make it a lot more difficult to get out of your boat without taking them out first. A lot of improvements can be gained by working on your timing. For example, waiting slightly longer before swinging your arms around can give you bigger air, but it makes it much harder to finish the loop. A simple but effective tip to improve your loop is to look up towards the sky while you're standing up. This will help you get maximum downward drive to get your boat as deep as possible, so that you get the most air that you can. A more difficult way to get more air in your loop is to build up the amount of pop you have by doing multiple pushes and increasing the amplitude each time. I push my paddle out from my boat, pushing it into the water. Then I move it towards me under the water and pull myself into the water while my boat is traveling downwards. I then repeat this process, moving my paddle in a circular motion until I reach what feels like an adequate amount of pop. This technique is very reliant on timing, so keep practicing. It can lead to some huge air. This method is one that I found quite difficult to learn, and I still need lots of practice to improve. The idea is that you use one paddle blade to push your boat out of the water. Using one blade allows you to push further away from your boat and be able to push your boat further out of the water. It can give a huge amount of air, but it's very hard to balance while you're doing a lot of movement and only stabilizing on one blade in the water.
And that is the end of my Flatwater freestyle kayaking tutorial on how to front loop. I made this video because we all have a lot of time at the moment, and most of the videos I've seen online on how to front loop go something like get on your bow, do a bounce, and then do like you do in a hole. Now this is fine if you can already loop in a hole or if you have access to a hole nearby. Most people don't. Although a lot of people do have access to flat water nearby, whether that's a river, the ocean, or a swimming pool in your backyard. I'm looking at you, Mark Carney. So get out there, give it a go, and let me know how you get on. So I'd love to see if this actually helps you learn your loop or improve your current loop. Until next time, see you on the water. Bye.